This is an exploration of the Miles Davis blues Freddie Freeloader played with double stops. This is a simple B-flat blues from the famous Kind of Blue record. And we're going to use double stops, mostly sixths, minor and major sixths, some thirds, and even a tritone or a second here and there. The study goes through the melody of the song, which is an A-B form. It's a 12-bar blues, but the ending is a little different the first time. It goes to a flat 7 chord and A flat 7. And then it's, after we finish the melody, an improv study that I wrote using double stops. And once I play it at tempo with a backing track, I'll break it down and play a little slower and talk about some of the techniques involved. So here we go, Freddie Freeloader. Sometimes it's nice to put a little inflection in there, slide into the interval, but you don't want to overdo it once in a while. Here comes the improv study. So that was full tempo, and now I'm going to just go through pieces of it and talk about the technique involved. So the beginning of the head, we're playing a major 6 shape, which over the B flat 7 is the root and the 13th or the 6th, G and B flat. Now I can use any pair of fingers really that's comfortable. I'm playing finger style, so it's easy to avoid hitting the string in between. If you're using a pick and you try to play this interval by barring, it's going to be hard not to play the E flat as well. Now I'm going to point out that on the recording, the horns are actually voiced in a triad, a G minor triad. We're just playing the outside notes of it today. And that's a topic for another day, is using those triads to play the melody. But for now, we're just going to use this major 6 shape. It's the same shape on the top strings when we get to the E flat 7, the 4 chord. And now this just approaches the 5 chord, the F7, chromatically, and back down chromatically to the 4 chord. Notice I'm putting the roots in occasionally to give you context. And now we switch from sixths to a tritone, an augmented 4th or diminished 5th. Now it happens that the tritone forms the 3rd and 7th of that A flat 7, which is the flat 7 chord in the key of B flat. And we're approaching it a half step below. Essentially it's like going G7, A flat 7, but we're just playing the shell, the 3rd and the 7th. So then repeat the whole head. Again, you can use whatever fingerings that work for you, but pairs of fingers are best rather than bars usually. Now I'm going to break that rule right here. I'm going to use a bar when we get to the improv study to play the B flat and G. The study starts with the 9th and 7th of the B flat 7 chord. C is the 9th, A flat is the 7th. Now you see that little scoop mark? That means to slide up either from a fret or 2 frets below. That's a typical inflection that a singer or a horn player might make. And then the next thing, we switch to thirds for the first time. Now we're targeting these two notes, the F and the A flat, or the fifth and the flat 7 of the B flat 7 chord. But we start a whole step higher at the 13th and the root, or the 6th and the root. And I do a slide to play that legato. So we start here, staccato, short, and I'm only articulating the first of those thirds, the F sharp and A. Excuse me. And sliding down. Now on beat 4 we have the single note line, and this has some legato techniques as well. Some slurs. Means that I play the F, I pick the F sharp on the and of 4, and then I hammer on to the G. This is a way of making your lines swing more like a horn player, who will often play long series of notes without tonguing, in other words, without articulating the note at all, or will articulate on the offbeats. I will just play a scale and show you what that feels like if I play it picking every note. And that's a B flat Mixolydian scale. Now listen what happens when I try to put in those slurs from the offbeats to the downbeats everywhere it's possible. So it swings a lot better, and that's why we've done it here. So the pickups again, out of the 4th bar. 1, 2, 3. So I use a lot of sort of call and response, which is a typical blues technique, where you make a statement of melody, a motif, and you repeat it, maybe with some variation, maybe with some notes changed to fit the next chord. We're going to do something like that right here. This is actually a sequence where I play the same idea transposed from one chord to the next. So we start with this. This is the top of page 2. So very simple, starts with the 5th and the 3rd of the F chord. We play the whole idea down a step over the E flat chord as well, but just with a little syncopation. Now we go back to thirds, and we're on the A flat 7 chord. And this is our first introduction to this really cool idea that is typical of a lot of blues piano and organ licks, where you have a pedal tone on top, and you hammer on from the minor third, in this case, to the major third of the A flat 7 chord. This is on beat 3 of the 3rd measure at the top of page 2. It's the B natural, or you could call it a C flat, up to C natural. So that whole lick, 1, 2, 3, 4. It adds a really nice bluesy thing as opposed to just playing it straight, which is cool too, but you could even do a scoop here. And notice we end on that same tritone. Now it's inverted. It's G flat to C instead of, in the melody of the song, it was C to G flat. Now the next phrase, another call and response idea. It repeats the same thing. 1, 2, 3. Kind of a spicy note there. It's got a sharp 11 and a sharp 9 over the B flat. But I really think of it as just a passing chord, a passing note, passing double stop, getting to the E flat 7. I'm going to play that phrase again. 1, 2, 3. Notice the F is natural now over the E flat 7 chord. That's kind of a tricky thing. We're starting here at the B flat and G, sliding it up and back down again. You get that grace note, pick up, and then sliding back down to beat 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Another tritone. Now we do another one of these pedal tone ideas, typical organ piano thing. Holding the F on top, the root of the chord, and underneath I'm playing the flat 7, E flat, the 6, and the 5. And that we sequence that idea down a whole step over the E flat. Another slur, this time we're on the downbeat of the triplet. Makes it easy to execute that. Another pedal tone. You can't quite hold it until the last note of the sequence there, but you hold on to this root on top as long as you can. And then I threw in a 5 chord in the last bar, which isn't in Freddie Freeloader really, but it's just a nice spicy voicing, an F7 sharp 9. So I'm going to play again a little slower with the backing track, and I'm going to just play the improv section one more time. I think the melody's pretty straightforward. And then I'm going to improvise a little bit myself using these same ideas of double stops, pedal tones, and some of those bluesy inflections. Notice the articulations, short notes, short, slurred, slurs, Hopefully that was helpful, and have fun exploring Freddie Freeloader and double stops.